Of course, when you look at the group by syntax we showed in previous slides, you will see that one very important part of select statement is missing from that group by syntax, which is where, of course. Now we postpone the discussion of where clause because there are something that we want to see. When you apply the filtering, there are actually two levels of data, right? The first level is the original data, which is the leftmost colorful mix of data. And we also have the rightmost data set and the data set where you have the more organized, already aggregated data. So when you think about filtering on data, an inevitable part is because there are two different data sets in this process, there are actually two levels of filtering. So first of all, maybe you want to filter, for example, we talked about a registration, right? Maybe you just want to see the registration for this year instead of last year. Now, a student like Luke Skywalker may be involved in both last year and this year, but you only want to see this year's data. In this case, you will apply a filter on the original data, original rows, and see that, oh, he take 3 classes last year and 4 classes this year. And I'm only interested in those 4 years. I want to group by student name based on this this year filter. So in the middle, when we reorganize the data and the group by student name, these data are already filtered with this year filter, and this year filter actually applies to the original data set. But once you have finished aggregation and you get every student's sum of tuition, maybe you want to apply more. Maybe you want to apply some filter on I only want to see student who paid 500 more, or $500 or more. So this is another filter applied on the aggregated data set. So these are two levels. The first level is last year. And as we said, because in the result set, we are only grouped by student name, we did not have the year in group by. So this filter will not be applied in the rightmost part, because the rightmost part after group by student and aggregated sum, there's no year attribute. You cannot apply across the filtering there. Similarly, the having clause, similarly, the filter will apply to the rightmost aggregated column, where we are try to filter out, try to find out all aggregated data set that have a $500 or more in tuition, right? This cannot be done in the left original data set, the leftmost original data set, because at that time we haven't aggregated yet. How would you know which one belongs to 500 or more, that 500 or more group? So for this reason, there are two levels of filtering, and we have to apply these two levels of filtering using different clauses to tell SQL when is the time to apply each filter. So to the original data set, we will apply the where clause, just like we will do without group by. Then after group by, we're going to apply the having. It's called having. The filtering condition on the group by the aggregated data set will be applied using a having clause. For example, I have here having sum greater than 600, right? Let's see, after my group by, I calculated the sum of tuitions. Luke to Skywalker is 280 in sum, and Leia Skywalker is 700. So after I apply the sum of actual tuition, only one row is selected. The other row is discarded. So the result of that is just one row. Example of that is select student name, sum of actual tuition from registration group by, and then we have this having. Having comes after group by. Intuitively, it's executed after group by, right? You group by first, you do the aggregation function, then you apply the having. So having sum of this greater than 600. That's how you apply a having. Having clause started with a keyword having, applied after group by clause, followed by the filtering condition. Condition is applied to the aggregated data set, not the original data set. And one important note is if you select, if you have a filter condition on the group by column, for example, student name, if you want to select all the student name starting with L, for example, because this student name attribute occurs both in the original data set and the aggregated data set. So you can apply this filter either as a where to the original data set or as having to the group by aggregated data set. However, it's always wise to apply these filters in the where clause. The reason is by filtering out as many data from the original data set, you will have much less data in the group by, and this will improve your performance. For this reason, you should only use for this reason, you should only use aggregated function filter. You should only apply aggregated function filters in having. If a filter can be applied both in where clause and in having clause, you should apply that in where clause. And when would this happen? When will filter be applied both in where clause and having clause? It's when it's in the group by column, which means it shows both in the original table and the aggregated data set, right? And for having, only data in the aggregated data set should be used. Either the aggregation functions, which is you have to apply that in having anyway, or the group by column, which is not a good option to use having. So where is applied on original data set, thus cannot operate it in aggregated data set, right? Having is applied on the aggregated data set, and we should use where whenever possible because it's applied on the original data set. By using this where, we can filter out as many rows as possible to reduce the effort of group by and the following having. Okay, so let's look deeper. Now that we have seen all the components of group by, you should know that the order that you write SQL is not the order that you execute the SQL or the database execute the SQL. In fact, it's very far away. So the execution order is actually from, I should say from join. From join, the first step is to get from join, gather the tables. The second step is to filtering out, to only gather the data you want from the original data set. Then followed by group by, then followed by select and having and order by. Once you group by, which makes sense, right? You will gather the table first, filter out unnecessary data, then you start to group data into different groups. Once you group the data into different groups, that's when you can do the select, when you can do the aggregation. And after you aggregate and calculate the result of aggregation functions, you do having, filtering out those unnecessary aggregated data. And finally, you have the completed data set, completed result. You will order by, make it more readable. So this is the process. And I'm trying to make it really colorful. We will talk about from join later on, but right now let's just focus on from, assuming there's only one table. So first of all, you get a from certain table, then you apply a where clause. You apply the where clause you apply the where clause so that you can pick up the right table. write data. After second step, what you get is the original rows that meets the requirement that you will be processing. It's the list of the data subset that that's useful. Then you group by that useful data set by the group by columns into different groups. Then fourth step, you will select the groups and aggregate the columns. Once you start aggregating, once you finish aggregating, you will apply the having clause to remove the unnecessary columns, the data sets, and finally you order that so that it looks good. So at step, for example, let's use this example. Select from registration, where registration date. Note that this where is between from and the group by. Okay, where is between from and the group by. But as step one, DBMS find the registration date, the dating table. So that's when you apply where, right? Now, after you apply where, you do group by and select. Once you select, this is the result data set. This is the aggregated data set. And the registration date is no longer here, right? Registration date is no longer here, so you cannot apply registration date in having clause. Neither can you use it in order by clause. You can only use whatever is in student name and whatever is in the result data set, which is student name and the sum in the having and order by clause. But at the same time, the sum of actual tuition does not exist in registration, right? It only exists in the result data set. So you cannot put this having into where. This is the important aspect because a lot of students have issues understanding where and have the difference between where and having. So that's why I keep on talking about this again and again, hopefully give you some good memory on that. So where is on detail, this is a summary. Hopefully the last time I mentioned the difference between having and where. Where is on detail level and can be used for all sourced columns. Having is on aggregation level and can use for all select columns, okay?